Hi, thanks for joining me today at Anne's Gifting Boutique YouTube channel. I am still very new to YouTube, so I really appreciate you taking the time to come and check out some of my content today. So one of the things that I think is kind of neat, and I've been trying to get figured out, is I do have a YouTube channel and an Etsy store, but as for Etsy, I'm still kind of new to that and still trying to put product up, and I do tumblers and mugs and what have you, and most of those for personalization with people's names on them. So it makes it kind of difficult for showing your product with showcasing the personalization. I noticed some of the, other stores were utilizing mock-ups, and so I was kind of checked that out, and some of the process on that just did not seem very user-friendly. But then as I was looking, I come across Crystal's Crafties YouTube channel, and she was describing a process that just seemed a lot more user-friendly. So that's kind of what I was going to show today, and I got the mock-up that we are using today from Creative Fabrica. There is what you'll need today to create that mock-up. So let's get started. So when I do my editing, I utilize Inkscape. And so Inkscape is a free download for anyone. The possibilities are endless. I don't think I'll ever touch on what all you can do with Inkscape. But as for today, we're just going to utilize a couple of the steps that's needed to create the tumbler that we're going to try to create today. So just go in and double click Inkscape, and it takes a moment for it to come up. Again, Inkscape's free for anyone to download. The possibilities are endless with what all you can do with it. With what we're doing today, it's just some pretty easy steps. So I always like to change this immediately to inches and then lock your aspect ratio. And then, so we're going to import the file today. I do have this Tumbler in my Etsy shop right now, so I just thought it was a good example of how I created it. So double click it and then OK. I always like to bring it down here. So this is where you want to make sure your tumblers, you want to measure them up and down and around, and you want to make sure that that matches here. So you want to make sure your tumbler wraps totally around and to cover up the whole tumbler. So then I have a name on here, and it's Michaela. And then I just click that to make it go bigger. And then double click it. Whoop, there we go. And then I'm going to change the font. The font I got from Creative Fabrica, I'm a member from there, and I just so many different options. The possibilities are endless. So it's almond butter, and I use this quite a bit. And so right here, I'm going to click the selector tool, and this will again allows it to go bigger or smaller. But if you click it again, it allows you to rotate it. Okay, and then I'm going to drag it over. We might have lucked out on the first try. So you want to make sure it's good and centered. And the color I used was this one down here, and you see your colors across the bottom. So click on that. Also, you can scroll this back and forth with a lot of more options as well. So click on there, and then I click to the side, and then I go over and click and hold down and drag over all of this. And what we're wanting to do is to group it together. So that's all selected. You'll right click on your mouse and then scroll down to group and select that. And as you can see, it just keeps the outer arrows. So I click to the side, and then when you click it again, you see how you can just move it around so it's all together now. So now we want to export this as a PNG. So we'll go to File, and that's all we have to do on the editing for this. So go to File, Export PNG Image, and it brings up other options over here. So under File Name, you have Export As, so select that, and then go to the place where you want to save it. And I'm going to save it as Ready for Mockup, if I could type. And click Save. Now it's not saved yet, so you want to make sure and hit Export, and that's where it will save it, where you select it. So click Export. It says Export in Progress, and then we'll go to your file, and you can see that's where it saved it. So that's all we need to do with Inkscape. So you just minimize that all down. So now this is where we're going to go on the internet, and this is called Photopea, and this is where I got the directions from Crystal's Crafties YouTube channel again. So you'll just open it up, and this is free. And so we're going to go open from computer to find the mockup that I had purchased from Etsy. And so I have that saved. And you want to make sure you select this one. It's not the JPEG options. You want the one that allows you for the functionality. So double click it. And there it is. So our goal is we want to make sure on the center one that Michaela is going to be centered on this part. And then of course you got the right and the left and so on. So over here to the right of the screen, we're going to utilize these green options. So I'm going to start with the middle one. And so as you can see, it says double click to edit. So you'll just double click it and it brings up this screen. So we just need to go, now this will, you'll have to drag and drop. You're not going to import it in like we did the initial mock-up. So you'll just click on this. You just drag this over. And then you just click and hold down and drag it on the screen. And it automatically puts it in the center. So we want to make sure to make this go bigger so we're covering the whole entire portion that's going to go on the tumbler. So we're going to drag here over to the top till it gets even with the top. I think maybe just a little more. Okay. And then scroll down and we're going to go down here and we're going to do the same thing to cover up towards the bottom. And as you see, it's going and centering Michaela. That looks good. Let's zoom out. So now this is selected. It's created this tab here. So now we're going to save this as a smart object. And now we can go back to the original tab and we're going to see how it looks. So that looks good. So we got Michaela in the center. So now we need to do this on the right and the left as well. So let's go to the right one. We're going to double click it. We're going to go to the file again, drag it in. We're going to pull this to the left. And then the bottom as well. Go back up a little bit. And that looks good. So we're going to go to File, Save Smart Object. I'm going to go back to the original to see how that looks. That looks really good. So now we're going to go to the left, do the very same thing again and double click it. Go to our file, drag it in. And then now we're going to pull it to this direction on the top and bottom. Okay. That looks good. So go to File, Save Smart Object, go back to the original, and now you can see all of them there. So now we have the option, in my Etsy store I put two images with two different options. So here we have the option here to change, like right now the white ground, not that it looks bad, but since the tumblers are white, I just thought it looked better to change that up. So double click it. I did kind of like a slight pink. That looks pretty good. So now we're going to save this. We're going to export it as a PNG again. So we're going to go to File, Export as PNG, and then Save. Now it always saves to your downloads. That's where it saves the location. So that's saved there. So then I also saved it with another background. So this is under background. So you're going to double click it and you'll do it the same way we did the upper ones. So double click it and go to your file. I have it saved here. Drag it over. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to get this even at the top. close as possible. And then over here at the bottom, okay, and then File, Save Smart Object. Go back to the beginning to see how it looks. That looks great. So we're going to save this as a PNG. Again, export as PNG, save, and again, these are going to be in our downloads, and I'll show them to you. Of course, you can see I did it a couple other ones today. So, and here they are. So that's where they're located. So I thought it might be helpful to go to my Etsy store. So if you already have an Etsy store at this point, you would go to Shop Manager, the little store, let that open up. Now, if this is not already a listing that you have, you'll still go to Listings. And when it comes up now, if this was a new one, you would go through a different process, but I already have it. And so this would be an opportunity if, let's say you decided you want to upload new pictures, this is where you could do that. So you just click on it. And then on here, over here, we're the editing area. So let's say I want to add new pictures, even though we've already got these in here. And you can see where they're at. So let's double click that one. And I want to show it coming in. It might take a moment, but I just thought it was worth it because when I started, you know, initially I think it was one time last year setting this all up and I'm putting images and it was like taking forever. I'm like, maybe I'm doing this wrong, and I was going to exit out and not give it long enough. So it really just depends on the speed of your internet. I don't have the fastest, I don't have the slowest, and it also depends on the quality of your image. So it should come up here in just a moment. So as that's coming up, just wanted to mention that, you know, again, this is helpful for whether it's Shopify or Etsy, of putting some of your products on without having a lot of overhead and what have you. So as you can see, it's the exact same picture as that one. Let's go ahead and click on it, make it go big, and this is how it would look in your Etsy. So I hope that's helped today. If so, if you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate it if this seems like content that would be of interest to you. That would be great. And if you enjoyed the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be helpful as well. And thank you so much. Have a great day.